Welcome to another episode of the B-Dorm Podcast. I am your co-host, Don the Piz Elevert, joined as always by
Justin Jericho Turner.
And we are two former college roommates getting together a couple decades later to talk about life, business, media, culture, entertainment, and everything in between. Let's go! We made it 10 episodes deep. We in the double digits. Cheers.
Cling.
What do you
10
have on
episodes.
deck this week?
I got another
In your
pastry
goblet.
stout, which is it's my thing now. I think this shit is called Bungalow Nights. Very good though. Very good. Nice
Bungalow
full body,
Nights.
even though it's a pastry stout, not too sweet. I don't like the real sugary stuff. Good flavor. I like this one.
Bungalow Night. What does that one taste like? Because all the you've had like a chocolatey one before. You've had like all types of
Yeah,
other
hold
stuff.
on.
Is that one just
I'm gonna give it to you from the horse's mouth here. It's got
I love the name.
It's got a little hickory. Ooh, okay. Cinnamon,
Mm-hmm.
a little coffee. It's good.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I like it.
man. Yeah, man.
I think we might have came with similar flavor profiles here.
What you got? What you working with?
I made myself I recently got introduced to, and I don't know if these have been around for a long time, but you ever heard of a dirty chai latte?
Yeah. Love
Which is
it.
basically like a chai latte mixed with espresso.
Mm-hmm.
Those joints are tasty, and for some reason today I was just craving one, so I was like, you know what? Let me make another craft cocktail for the pod and see how it comes out. Very, very, very pleased with this one. But I had to go to the store, buy some chai tea, because the thing I hate about chai lattes is whenever you go get a chai latte somewhere, most of the time they're either using that syrupy stuff
powder.
or that powdered stuff that's just full of sugar, and
Yeah.
it's like, it just tastes, processed, and like it tastes great because it's just sugar and processed stuff, right? But I went to the store, I got myself like one of my favorite tea brands. I got their clean chai tea, right? Boiled the tea. Then I took the chai tea, mixed it with, I went half and half with chai tea and coffee. And then I hit that with some super creamer. You ever had super coffee?
Mm-mm.
So Super
Please.
Coffee is this brand. They make these coffees that have they're like these keto coffees that have MCT oil in them, which is great for it has great health benefits. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
It's one of the
Alright.
things you get from like coconut and stuff. But anyway, so it's a keto, gluten-free, lactose-free creamer. Love it. MCT oils in there. Make myself think I'm healthy when I'm poisoning myself with alcohol. Through dash of cinnamon, vanilla stevia, and then I blessed it with the Barbancourt Haitian rum and some maple cream liqueur.
Word.
Yo,
Barbancourt we need sponsorship. We dropping.
Barbancourt needs a holler.
You can hit us up, man.
But I'm gonna tell you, I think I'm gonna call this one an extra dirty chai latte. Extra
dirty, or how about a filthy?
A filthy chai. There it is, right there. Because this one right here. I've loved I've made some tasty drinks in previous pods, but this one right here gets the job done.
Listen, people hit me up. They're like, yo, I gotta run it back and get the recipe. We're gonna have to start putting the recipe on the social, so people can just make.
Well, this one right here is one people need to keep.
All right, word. Yeah, that sounds good.
Drink sexy, America. We got Juneteenth coming up.
Yes, sir.
By the time people hear this, Juneteenth will have already happened. And hopefully, if anybody listening to the podcast listens to it as soon as it comes out, because they can't wait to hear it, then they'll be hearing it just a few days after Juneteenth, the same week. So I know that this is a topic that you have wanted to touch upon, speak upon, and we've even touched upon it before. Even in the last episode, we talked about some capitalistic the commercialization of Juneteenth. But I want to introduce a new segment that we are going to call Black on Black with Jericho.
All right, please
So
tell
my
the
man
people
Jericho,
what we're doing. Tell the people what we're doing.
well, we're going to take a topic that is near and dear to the Black community's hearts, or should, probably to many Black Americans. And we're going to let you break it down for people in a way that only you are capable of doing.
Thank you, sir.
How's that for an explanation?
Thank you. It was perfect. It was perfect. I was meant. That was very good. But yeah, man, I've always been a little bit of an outsider, if you can imagine. And growing up within and also without the community has left me with a very unique perspective. You have a similar perspective, even though we have, a different path. But, being able to see things from a different perspective, I think, has given me some clarity on a couple of things. So this is just an introduction to our segment. We're not going to go deep. We're gonna hit y'all with some segments coming up in the future. We got Juneteenth coming up. For those of y'all who don't know what that is, it's Black Independence Day, okay? And just to put things in perspective, Black people were already free. The war was already over, but nobody told us. And that's kind of like a metaphor for the entire Black American existence, right? Like, things happen, things change, but nobody tells us. And we continue to do things the way we've always done them, or, the way Nana said that we should do it, or, we like to keep things conservative, if you will. All right? You like where I went there right now, right? So
flipping it
today, as opposed to getting super deep on how we just got our brand new holiday, and it's a throwback to episode 5, we wouldn't have Juneteenth without Pete Saji and Blackish. So just, if you haven't heard it, go back to episode 5, check that out. It's our first guest, Pete Saji, one of the executive producers of Blackish. That Juneteenth episode put Juneteenth on the map as far as I'm concerned. And the reason why we have it as a national holiday is because it was on the Disney network. Because it was running on national TV, and people were dancing around. So now we have Juneteenth. And I want to talk to the Black community about something very important, Piz. Inflation is up, and I don't know if you know this, but Snoop Dogg has a professional blunt roller. Are you aware? Are you aware of that?
Oh, when I said crazy high, I was actually talking about inflation. By the way, I wasn't talking about Snoop Dogg or a blunt roller, but I see where that went.
Right. So, like inflation, Snoop Dogg is always crazy high because as a professional blunt, he gave his blunt roller a raise. I just wanted to throw some love out to Snoop Dogg because he sees how the economy is moving. But for all the people out there who are still rolling blunts, I just wanted to talk to y'all. This is to my community. I had some people who will come and will smoke with me for the first time. And I'm packing my little pipe, right? And then I hand it to them. And people that are from the hood who've never really smoked anything but blunts, they're like, yo, I feel like I'm smoking crack. Like, I've heard this like 10 times. And
I'm like, they see the little glass pipe you break out.
Exactly. So I just wanted to talk to the Black community about smoking herb economically. All right. Because a lot of y'all are out here spending way too much money on herb. Just like when you're drinking, right? You can binge smoke, which is what often happens when people are smoking blunts, because you pack all of that herb into one blunt and then you light it and you smoke. Now, some people are good about smoking a little bit and putting it out or whatever. But most people are smoking way more than they need to. On top of that, when you're smoking out of a piece, you know the herb is not burning the whole time, right? So, if you smoke out of a blunt, even when you're not inhaling, it's just burning your weed that you paid for. It's not even logical, but people do it all the time and they can't not do it. And what they don't fully understand is that there is a commercial aspect to that, right? Because you have to go out and you have to buy papers and you have to buy tobacco products and then scrape the tobacco out and put it in the trash and then smoke that. But the leaf is still made out of tobacco, my man Pizzle.
Mm-hmm.
So you're still smoking that tobacco. You're still getting that corporate product. So at the end of the day, if you really want to smoke herb and you want to smoke good, maybe you don't want to roll blunts all the time because you're wasting too much herb and you're also probably supporting some businesses that you may not want to support. So there it is, Piz. Black on black.
That right there is Black on Black with Jericho. Helping your pockets and helping your habits.
You almost made me spit my beer out, yo.
We got another news segment for folks today.
Oh, we're blessing them today. This is all for Juneteenth.
We are blessing them today. Exactly. Celebration. This is a new segment we like to call Headlines.
Okay.
So.
It's new to me too, y'all. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you much about this, but I couldn't tell you much about this in advance because it only works. This only works if you don't actually know what I'm gonna be asking you about.
Oh, all right. Okay, I got it. I can dig it. I'm ready.
Plus we pretty much we don't really talk much in advance anyway about anything we're going to talk about. We like to keep it fresh for the people. Keep it real.
Fair point.
So I had the realization that, or not, this wasn't a recent realization, but I mean, we've had conversations about the need for, and this is something I know you're passionate about, the need for people to be independent. When we say independent, we don't just mean like politically register as with the independent party, but be independent in your thought. And to be independent in your thought means you need to be critical in your ability to actually research and how you get your information. And I feel like one of the things that's happened to me as we've gotten older, I wonder back, I don't know, and I wonder what you think about this. I don't know if it's just naivete when we're young, that I thought news, when I turned on the news, that I was getting impartial, just facts delivered to me, and that I could depend on the news to deliver that. But it feels like now what we have are at what we seem to refer to or consider to be news outlets aren't really news outlets. They are actually opinion outlets, or whatever more appropriate phrase would be for someone that delivers news with a completely biased and swayed opinion. And I'm not just talking about one side or the other. I'm talking about all sides of this. So first off, what do you, am I crazy, or like, was it just that when I was younger, I just wasn't aware, like it was always like that, or has it become that way due to something that's transpired over the years? What do you think about
bro. You remember The Dark Knight, that conversation that Alfred has with Bruce Wayne? He's like, basically Batman created the Joker. Like he created the environment for the Joker to become the Joker. Like,
yeah.
This in the reverse, when Fox News went off the rails, news also broke. Like, so our entire news landscape is broken. You and I, we grew up in a world where we didn't have a 24-hour news cycle. You know what I'm saying? The news came on at a certain time of the day. And so you watch the news, and if the news changed between those hours, you just didn't know until that hour came when the news came back on, right? And I grew up in a very heavy news family, all right? News was playing in my house almost 24 hours a day on the radio news.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always been in tune to the news, and I'm gonna tell you right now, the news right now is broken. It doesn't work anymore. Um, there are some news outlets that are more reliable than others, but even those sometimes I'm highly critical of because I feel like they will also chase headlines as opposed to actually reporting news.
Mm-hmm.
Because the headlines give them higher ratings. And I know that it's a ratings game. I get it. Like people's salaries have to get paid. But if your salaries are through the roof, then maybe hire some actual news people. Stop hiring all these celebrities and stop
Mm-hmm.
worrying so much about how much money the news can make and deliver the news to the people. So yeah, I'm with you 1,000% on that.
Interesting. And you actually just reminded me talking about that. You reminded me of a conversation or a couple of conversations I've had with friends who work in media and news coverage in our some of our friend groups who have told me that because we lived through this shift when Twitter, not I'm not even trying to rail on Twitter. I'm not saying trying to get on them as like evil, but I think all technologies and all advancements throughout humankind usually have an equal amount of good and bad that occurs, right? And so one of the things that Twitter created was it created an environment, like you said, and this is what made me remember this, of the 24/7 news cycle, which, and then it also created a situation where news was being broken by non-professionals who happened to catch wind of things first,
Right.
which led to the professional news outlets and professional news anchors having to compete with the amateurs and having to compete with the amateurs for a 24/7 news cycle, which then led to people having the expectation of basically being excited by some news at all times, which is why suddenly there's breaking news every day when like we used to have breaking news on like that breaking news was Sunday when you walked outside if you lived in the burbs and the Sunday newspaper got delivered and you took the rubber band off and the plastic off and you opened that newspaper and read what happened during the week. That was your breaking news.
First of all, the Sunday paper was like 10 pounds.
Oh, the Sunday paper. Sunday paper. Sometimes that joint was gold. Sometimes it had like a special little like something extra in there, like a little prize or something. That's when you got the. That's how I first got introduced to Boondocks. I think the
Yeah,
Boondocks
yeah, it's
cartoon
in the
when it
papers.
when it was in the Sunday comics, and I was like, holy cow, there's a black focused uh cartoon in the comic strips here. I used to love that shit.
Yeah, man.
But anyway, back to the matter at hand here. So our segment headlines. Um, since our news should be unbiased, I want to do a little test every once in a while and see if you, my man Justin, can guess if I read you a headline and I will tell you it is either from Fox or CNN because I think we can agree that those are probably the two leading extreme news outlets that sways a lot of public opinion and
Yeah,
capture a lot of people's attention, right?
I'll take that. Yeah.
And I believe that if we lived in a world where the news media that people were actually turning to was unbiased and just delivering factual information to us like that we need, then you shouldn't be able to guess which one it came from, right?
That
Or
is
you
correct.
not without accuracy, it should just be a flip of the coin for you.
All right.
So
Let's see. Let's test it. I
I'm gonna
like
try. I'm
this.
gonna try to give you five of each. Give you 10 since it's our 10th episode, and I'm gonna do them
Hey.
in complete random order. And you tell me if that joint was Fox or CNN, and if you have anything to chime in on at the topic at hand.
All right.
And it's also going to be interesting to see. It's also going to be interesting to see um, how much of this stuff, whatever, because we record a little bit in advance, like we've told our pod listeners before. Um, it's going to be real interesting to see what is still topical because we're not bringing this stuff up to. We're not. People didn't come here to listen to us deliver the news. Hopefully, but they came to
Hopefully.
hear us have thoughtful, and entertaining and humorous discussion about some of these topics. And so part of the humor will be to see, is any of this even stuff that people are outraged about a week from now? How fast is the news cycle moving?
Right,
All right, you
right. All
ready?
right. I'm
First
ready.
one for you. Here's a headline. Trump lawyer who led push to overturn election asked for pardon, and other takeaways from third January 6th hearing.
Definitely CNN.
That is most definitely CNN. You are one for
Fox
one, my
News.
brother.
Fox News would never report on a Trump lawyer doing anything that would come off as negative.
That's kind of amazing, but amazing, sad, and true.
All right,
right?
Let's do it. I'm ready. I'm warmed up now. Let me get a drink too. I'm ready.
Oh, you like this? All right. Ready? Here's another one. Pelosi pressed on Dems' abortion rhetoric as violence against churches, pro-life clinics on the rise. They actually wrote that grammatically odd, so I'm going to fix it for you. Pelosi pressed on Dems' abortion rhetoric as violence against churches and pro-life clinics on the rise.
Definitely Fox News. Nat, thank you for correcting it for me. That's a Fox headline.
You couldn't feel the comma that I was silently saying.
Yeah.
That is most definitely a Fox headline, my brother. You are 2 for 2.
Let's go.
2 for 2 on headlines.
Let's go.
All right. Those were the leading headlines at this moment. And one of the things I think that's funny about this is because I've had debates with people who have tried. It's funny when you have a debate with people and you express an opinion these days, they immediately try to say, oh, well, you obviously only get your news from such and such. I'm like, anybody who knows me knows, don't approach me with that kind of stuff, because I get my I go to all types of news outlets, because my thing, what I like to do is I like to go back and forth, and I'm like, all right, if one of them isn't talking about something and the other one is making a big deal about it, I want to know that. I want to know why the other one is staying away from it.
Mm-hmm. Same here, brother.
All right. Those were easy because, those were leading headlines. I'm going to move down a little bit now and see where we go.
Hit me.
Plummeting approval. Americans weigh in on Biden as gas prices, interest rates soar.
You know what? That could be either one. I'm going to go with Fox News.
Ooh, I thought I was going to trick you with that one, because that one seemed a little more factual. Factual.
But I felt how it was leading, right? The language is leading you with the thing that we want to leave you with at the end is the thing that you should linger upon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're not worried about the approval ratings being low. That's not important to people. What's important to people, and Fox News is very good about speaking to the people, is gas, interest rates. So that's why I made that decision.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. And actually, you just made me think of another good point, which is the interesting thing, that is the importance of headline writing. Because why? Because we know people don't go and actually read. Half the people, most people probably out there aren't going to go reading anything anyway. And then to do research, independent research on their own, like they should. And then if people do go research, they're going to get stuck at the headlines and probably not going to read the whole article about anything. Right. So headline writing is an art in and of itself.
Yeah, man. Yes.
All right, my brother. You 3 for 3 right now. Trump is weighing whether to announce a 2024 bid before the midterms. Advisors are divided on that timing.
That's a good headline. Again, I think that could go either way. I'm going to give Fox News the benefit of the doubt here. I'm going to go with Fox News.
Oh, you got one wrong, brother. You got one wrong.
See, that's what I get for giving them the benefit of the doubt. I shouldn't have done it.
That right there.
I learned my lesson.
I mean, the funny thing is, hearing your thought process on it was hilarious because, yeah, why are you giving benefits of doubts?
Because I figured you was trying to trick me.
uh, More than 150 police officers shot so far this year, records show.
Fox does always try to present itself as a pro-police network. I'm going to go with Fox News once again.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
That, my friend, is correct.
Yeah.
2 men indicted in stabbing of father and son pizza shop owners trying... Let's try that again. 2 men indicted in stabbing of father and son pizza shop owners trying to stop robbery.
Sounds like local news. So Fox.
That is Fox again.
Hey.
All right. What if I only give you Fox? Buffalo shooting suspect said he committed massacre for the future of the white race. In note, apologizing to his family, affidavit says.
Oh, that's easy. That's CNN.
That is CNN, brother.
Yeah, man. Again, Fox News would never write a headline like that.
100 million people around the world have been forced to flee their homes. That's more than the population of most countries.
I'm going to go CNN again.
That, my brother, is correct once again.
Whew, I was worried about that one. I was worried about that one. I was like, Fox does report the news every now and then. I thought you were trying to get me. All right.
I have you at 7. I have you at 7-1 right now.
All right. Word.
But the funny thing is, my reporting on the score might be incorrect.
I only got one wrong, man. I take tests all the time. On my fingers. All right, let's go. What's next?
All right. Europe is making it much harder for Russia to ship oil anywhere.
Fox News.
No. That is CNN, my brother.
Oh, they got me. You got me.
Photos. See the Yellowstone flood damage as surrounding communities assess economic impact.
Fox News?
That is Fox News. What gave that one away?
Economic impact was the last thing you said. They have a little bit of a formula. They talk about things the Democrats are doing wrong, and they talk about economic impact, and they often try to present themselves as the pro-police network. So they run a lot of cop stories. They run a lot of military stories, stuff like that. We're talking about actual news, not those clowns that come on in the evening. Like, we're not even going to talk about those people. While the entire world was covering the January 6th hearing last week, Fox News was running Tucker Carlson with no commercials. Like, that's how ridiculous that network is. You know what I'm saying? Like, BBC is covering it, but Fox News, the biggest news network in America, is not covering it. Tell me something is not fundamentally wrong with that. I don't even want to talk about that. But anyway, like you said, if I want to talk shit about the opponent, I study the opponent. That's why I know all the stuff that I'm talking about. All right. So, like, people walk into my house and Fox News is on and like, oh, you watch Fox News? I'm like, yeah, I do. Any questions?
All right, keeping it moving. Now that we've done a couple of news segments here, let's bring a familiar segment back to the B-Dorm experience.
Where are we going with this now?
We are now taking it back, or bringing back to another dirty words.
Ooh.
All right, so first off, like I usually like to do, let's go to our friends at Merriam-Webster and see what the word. Well, first of all, let me tell you what the word is. The word this week is triggered.
Okay.
So let me ask you before I read the definition.
I'm triggered right now.
When I say the word triggered to you, when I say the word triggered, do you first off agree that that belongs in our dirty words category? And if so, why? And what type of emotional response does it generate in you, Jericho?
Absolutely a dirty word. I don't know which one of our peoples handed that one to you, but that, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the dirtiest words in our lexicon today. Because, God forbid, I, as a Black American, get triggered by something somebody else says. Because I, as a Black American, am not even supposed to get upset anymore. Because slavery's over. And, democracy and, Juneteenth. So everybody happy now. And it's a little bit ridiculous because, especially this country, and I mean, I'm speaking specifically about my experience, America has not reckoned with its racial history yet. It is putting band-aids on a deep gaping Freddy slash wound. And it's kind of ridiculous the way that we've been dealing with this issue. But anyway, like you said, when you said triggered, I got triggered when you said it. Because we are in the we're in the middle of Pride Month, right? There is a fundamental misunderstanding of the hardships that these people have to deal with. Because people who have never walked that walk, they think people are just being oversensitive about everything. Like take the transgender bathroom issue for instance, right? They think, well, what's the harm? Why are they so angry? Just, you were born with certain equipment. You should use certain restrooms. They don't understand how triggering that is, especially for a younger person, right? Because they're adults who are making these decisions on behalf of people who are still trying to figure themselves out as human beings, much less as different types of human beings. And I use the word different, I put that in quotations because we are all different in our own unique ways. And because there are a lot of people who are born a certain way and there are certain norms that are built around those things, there's a system in place for those people. And for people that are born outside of that system, there are no easy paths for them. Everything that they have to do is difficult. Just going to the bathroom is difficult. And for people to turn it into a thing where, oh, they're just being too sensitive, that it makes me upset. And I've said often on the pod, if you're not angry about everyone's problems, then you can't really be all that angry about your own. And that's kind of how you and I see eye to eye on this. We feel like all of these disenfranchised communities, all of these prejudiced communities need to combine their energy instead of fighting these individual fights. So I love that we're talking about the word triggered. I think that if America and like the 4 people in Canada that listen to us, what's up, y'all? If y'all understand your own history, right? And the atrocities that have created the environment that we live in today, then you would understand why people are triggered. Now, to flip it completely, Piz, for some reason, white men have decided white straight men, right, have decided now that they can be triggered by anything that refers to our disenfranchisement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like it's this weird, reverse victimization that's going on, where like this clown from the Buffalo shooter thinks that black
Mm-hmm.
people are replacing white people, right? So he has to go and murder as many black people as possible. And it was recently reported he wanted to inspire other people to do these types of crimes, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the irony, of course, is this is the same party. We're talking about the GOP because all of these dudes are Republicans. The same people who are preaching that people on the left are too sensitive have now allowed themselves become the ultimate snowflakes, where they can't take any kind of criticism without resorting to violence. It's the hypocrisy checklist. Put that on there, Pizzle.
So, if I may, I think I'm going to agree with you that I definitely triggered you by bringing up the word triggered.
You did. You did.
I think that was just demonstrated. I don't know whether to apologize or whether you should thank me for allowing you to get that off your chest, my man.
I thank you, sir. I feel lighter already. You know what I'm saying? Going
So,
into celebration weekend, I feel a little bit lighter.
you actually unknowingly took it in a direction that that actually I was something that a thought that I had been coming to the more I thought about this word triggered. So first off, let me get back to reading the definitions here, just to make sure we're all on the same page. So first, couple different triggered obviously has varying different definitions. The first one here, released, initiated, or set off by a trigger. Okay. And then there's equipped with a trigger, and then there's occurring in response to a stimulus typically perceived as negative or harmful, right? So that's when we are talking about the dirty word triggered, we're talking about that last definition, right? In terms of a stimulus that causes a response because that stimulus is perceived as negative or harmful by an individual. But
Right.
what I found intriguing the more I thought about this word triggered, is that thinking about all the talk about gun violence, gun rights, and just in general gun culture in America, regardless of your thoughts one way or the other about any of that stuff, I found it interesting that that would be the word that has grown to represent emotional dissatisfaction, is one in this country in particular, is one that is directly correlated to gun culture.
Very good.
That's how much of a and that typically I feel like nobody even stops and thinks about that when we are using the word triggered. um but I think you brought up an interesting aspect of triggered that I've observed, just as you have, over the last, in particular, I'll say 5 to 8 years or so,
Yeah, we got
which
to call
is
this the
that.
Trump era, Piz. We got to just start calling it the Trump era because that's what it is.
Well, I don't know.
It's
I'm not even called. This even predates Trump, because I'm going to say
yeah,
a
but
lot of this I feel like
it's from
there was
birtherism. That's when it started.
uh,
When Obama was in office,
on.
and he was
Mm,
out talking about Obama's from Africa and he ain't from the United. Like that's when this whole shit started, bro. So that's why I
yeah.
refer to this whole thing as the Trump era, man.
Yeah, but as comes with various things that we talk about, I think my take on it is a little different, I guess. Personally, I think because I think there's fault on all sides from all peoples of different walks of life when it comes to being quote unquote triggered. But part why I feel that way is because I feel that all of us have something that we think is ridiculous that other people get upset about,
You mean like
right?
bed sheet
Almost all of
corners?
us yeah, exactly. Go back and listen to episode 9 if you don't get the reference that Justin just made. But yeah, I
Inside
get
joke.
triggered by the bed sheets not being properly taken care of. But on the flip side, all of us also simultaneously have something that we get upset about that other people think is ridiculous for us to get upset about. So almost all of us need to end up on the hypocrisy checklist when it comes to being triggered, because the crazy thing about this whole trigger thing is, where do you draw the line? Because everybody, it's basically monitoring sensitivity, and there's a point when there's a point where each of us thinks like, oh, you shouldn't be upset. That person shouldn't be upset because of the thing I did or said, because I didn't mean it that way, and they're being too sensitive. But then all of us come around at some other point and say those people need to be more aware and more sensitive to this thing that bothers me. And so I have just taken a step back to find kind of the humor in the fact that, like, we are all playing this weird game of trying to monitor sensitivity while all of us maintain some level of oversensitivity are in our own right, that we need to own up to and admit it. We're like, at some point you just need to admit it and realize it. And the more that you can realize that, the better it makes you at actually responding to other people's sensitivities or whatever triggers them. But going back to what you said that I found interesting in this idea of gun culture and the word triggered literally having that duality, is that you were bringing up the fact that there seems to be a retaliation of triggering when one side, or whoever is being triggered, or whoever is being accused of triggering people, seem to then eventually have enough and be triggered themselves by being called out for triggering the others. And you know what I find to be funny about that is, when one person pulls out a gun and threatens to pull the trigger, what do you think happens to the other person? What do you think is going to happen with the other person who has a gun on the other side? Go back in any Western movie. There's going to be triggering on the other side. So I think it is not lost on me, the humor, and I'm not saying that I'm not trying to make light of the gun issues in this country, but I'm more finding the irony in the fact that the gun culture in this country has led to us using this word to describe our emotional sensitivities in the first place, and that we then didn't think that what happens with guns was going to happen over time. I'm not surprised at all by anything you just described, because none of this was stuff that I found surprising, because I understood how we were expressing ourselves, and there was some reason. There's some correlation between how we choose to express ourselves in something. So how it's played out over the last 5, 8, 10, however many years or so, is nothing that I find surprising whatsoever.
This American story of defending oneself becomes the justification for clowns like the Buffalo Shooter to go shoot black people, because in his brain, he's doing the American thing, which is, if I perceive a threat, then I'm supposed to eliminate it with gun violence. And I just, bringing it back to our previous conversations about guns, I know that I've got a little bit triggered when you brought it up. I'm a little bit more settled now. But I know where the line is, though, Piz. And the line is that information. People have to know what they're talking about. Like, don't just get upset when you see something. Don't just get upset when you hear something. Make sure you actually know what you're talking about before you start getting upset and then spreading your anger to others who also aren't going to take the time to figure out what they're actually talking about. And this is something we talked about in episode 9. So please go back, check out episode 9 of the B Dorm Pod, and fill yourself with this energy, because as a country, we got to get better. We got to be better people at, understanding each other's problems and not being triggered, and understanding other people's triggers and what's behind them, the history behind them. But anyway, all right. That's it. I'm good. I'm going to drink now.
Salute to that. Cheers, brother. Hey, B-Dorm listeners, you've probably heard me mention in passing that I do professional voiceover work. Well, some of that includes audiobooks that you can download off of Audible. So check this out. We know you love to listen, and for a limited time only, we've got a great special offer for our dedicated listeners. We're happy to be able to offer you up to 2 free books when you try Audible Premium Plus. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, to Dolly Parton and James Patterson's Run, Rose, Run. There's something for everyone, and they're the perfect companion for your weekend run or your summer road trip. You can listen to thousands of great titles, as many as you want, whenever you want. Stream or download to listen offline. Click the link in the show notes and get started today. As I observe you taking your drink, I realize that you are about, I would say, 80% of the way through with your drink, as am I,
Yeah.
which means we have now entered the B-Dorm Witching Hour.
Let's go.
All right. So, Justin, this week, it is our 10th episode, as I said before. And I feel like this is a milestone. So, whenever we get to the Witching Hour, I tend to be a little loose because we've been sipping on our beverages and I ask you something funny. And a lot of the times my things have been very dystopian related and I have a lot of thoughts related to the zombie apocalypse and this and that. I'm not going there this time. I'm not going there.
All right.
But I've had one that I've been thinking about for a long and hard for a while. And I kept it on deck to save for a special episode. And I think now is as good a time as any because it's a celebration over here.
Pause.
So, yes.
Long and hard, you kept it on deck.
All
right, go ahead.
I was trying not to laugh when I said that, Jericho. I was trying not to laugh.
I wouldn't have heard anything you said. I needed to get that out, dogs. All right, go ahead.
Because I think you know where I'm going with this one.
Yes. All right, let's go.
I'm bringing it to the great debate. And because I need you to break this one down for the peoples. I'm not asking you to just pick one for all time. I want you to let people understand this topic that is near and dear to our hearts. And this is going to sound like a topic that is just that people are, any of our female listeners out there are going to think, oh, this sounds very, very much for the fellas. But no, trust me. Because one way to make a man really, really happy is to gift him some truly comfy underwear. And so what I want to talk about here is I want to talk about our underwear. I want to talk about our drawers, man. I want to talk about because I want to make sure
jokes
people
that
out
are
here
perfect, and I don't even know I'm cracking them. Piz, this is great.
Exactly. I want to make sure. I feel like this is something. I feel like everybody knows about Victoria's Secrets. Many men have gone to Victoria's Secrets or some other lingerie shop and gotten their lady, if they're in a hetero relationship of that nature, some lingerie. But I feel like we don't talk enough about men and both the combination of not only fashion but function that our undergarments play in our lives.
Okay.
So here's the debate. I want you to take me through, and I feel like this is one we need to take people through kind of the life cycle of our own lives of where these have all come into play. But I want you to talk about boxers versus briefs versus boxer briefs.
Okay. I'm with you. All right.
First, so let's start off with which of the three do you have on right now, if any?
Hold on.
Because the camera's only focused on you from like chest up, so I don't know what's going on down south, brother.
That's true. You don't. At the moment, I may or may not be freeballing. I will not confirm or deny that for the radio audience. All right. So all of us grew up wearing tidy whities, unquestionably. I don't care who you are. When your first underwear, when you were aware of the fact that you were wearing underwear and it wasn't, duty panties, those was tidy whities. All right. So
Sorry, hold on. Did you just refer to diapers as duty panties?
duty panties. That's right. Because they,
Okay,
you know what I'm
continue.
saying? Like you see babies, right? They real tight, doo-doo squeezing out the side. Nasty. All right. So you get older. For me, it was like I was like 13, 14, really started feeling myself as an adult. Switched over to boxers. Right now I'm grown. I'm an adult now. I got boxers on. I'm no
Mm-hmm.
longer wearing my holy, not religious, just with holes, my holy tidy whities, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I felt mature, I felt older, but I also started to realize that I was participating in a lot of sports, and boxers get bunched up under my uniforms. It was real uncomfortable,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I started going with the boxer briefs, have never looked back. If you're a dude and you don't wear boxer briefs, if you're an adult, I don't know what's wrong with you. Come talk to me. Like you need an education on drawers, because
Mm-hmm.
there's a reason why tidy whities are dope. They keep everything in place. But as you get older, you need more room. And tidy whities, unless unless they're made differently, they don't cut it. And you got stuff hanging out on the sides. You know what I'm saying? It's just not comfortable. That's what the boxer briefs are for. Also, I'm a fashionable person. Um, Sometimes my pants are as tight as my legs are, and I got big ass thighs. I'm a big dude, so you got to have very good form fitting boxer briefs, almost like tights, so that there are no
Mm-hmm.
seams that you can see through the clothes. Women think about this kind of stuff all the time. I think men don't pay enough attention to these kinds of things. And I look at dudes trying to wear like skinny jeans or like, skinny slacks, they're skinny chinos, and you can see the whole boxer, line on the thighs, you know what I'm talking about, poking out. So
Mm-hmm.
this is it's a fashion
Eye
thing.
line.
Yeah, you
Eye
got it.
line.
It's a
You can't
fashion
be a
thing. It's
grown
a
man walking
comfort
out there
thing.
with your underwear thigh line and your
Yeah, why
jeans.
you why y'all thigh lining out there? Why y'all thigh lining out there? So the great debate is over. It's boxer briefs. And I know you agree with me because me and you, we see like this.
Mhm.
So tell me.
So okay. So maybe great debate is wrong, but or at least between us, because you're right. There's no debate here because I boxer briefs all the way. I've been a consultant to many friends. In fact, I think was I. No. I didn't consult you, but I've had a couple of friends who have told me that I am the reason they switched to boxer briefs because I through the years have been a proponent of the boxer brief. But let's talk about this evolution that you talked about because I find that interesting. Not only the evolution, but I find that there's a generational thing going on here, and I don't know if this is just generational or this is also have to do with ethnicity and culture, but I do know that it seems that the men and especially the I guess immigrant men or Afro Caribbean men, immigrant men at least of our parents' generation seem to be very set on their tidy whitey situation. And we got to assume because when you go to the store, if people go to the store to buy this stuff anymore, people just order online. But there was
Nah, those
always
people, they still go to the store.
yeah. We live in a supply and demand. We live in a supply and demand driven society, right? So if there wasn't a lot of people out there rocking them tidy whities, there wouldn't be so many tidy whities on the shelves for people to buy. There's lots of tidy whities out there. So there's lots of people rocking them tidy whities and buying them tidy whities. So you brought up some of the function. I want to go even deeper with this one. Because part of the issue with the tidy whitey is not only the, I guess as you brought it, the potential for overage,
spillage,
spillage, the potential for spillage. But then if you're not getting spillage, you have that like seam that is digging into the upper thigh, upper I don't know what we call that region, upper thigh, upper groin region, that like corner where the two connect. And then you get that seam digging into that if you're not having the spillage that you were concerned about before.
Right. You either got spillage or you got chafing.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't want chafing. And then if you don't have the chafing due to the seam digging into the upper thigh, upper groin corner of your leg, then if you, as yourself mentioned, as a lot of African American men, we tend to be thick in many of us, thick and big boned, as we like to say, and big legged, right? Then you get thigh on thigh potential, or at the very least, or your thigh is rubbing, your upper thigh is rubbing up against the inner part of your pants.
Thigh on thigh crime.
Right? Thigh on thigh crime. We're not about that thigh on thigh crime here.
We're not about that.
And that's what would happen back in the day if you tried to rock the tidy whities back when we were growing up in the 90s with some baggy jeans.
Yeah.
Because the bag and the crotch would sag low, and then your thighs would rub up against each other because you had no protection. Mm-hmm. Right? Then came the boxer. I don't know what happened if the boxer, I feel like the boxer got invented around 1993, but I know it had been around, obviously. But every time I did some crowdsourcing on this topic with some of our buddies before bringing this one up. And it seems to me that everybody I know, like you were saying, all of us who grew up in that time frame were rocking the tidy whities and then made a distinct switch around high school to the boxers.
Exactly.
Around, like, that's why I said, like, around them early mid 90s, like, we all of a suddenly seem to switch to boxers, but not the generation above us. And this is one of them things that, like we talked about, I feel like we were just talking about people being triggered by some things. I feel like I might be triggering some people with this. If I'm triggering you with this, I'm sorry. That's not my intention, but perhaps you need to be a little more open to maybe looking at the other side of things, because we're looking out for you.
Right.
We're looking out for you with this one. That's a whole other. I wasn't gonna go there, brother. But yes, when we're talking tidy whities, that JT just might have even crossed too far of a sophomore line for me on this podcast with that one.
My bad.
But
duty panties, that didn't do it for you.
But all right, so now then you move on to the boxer. But why did all of us, like, for me, that boxer phase was really about, like, because there was this whole phase where, when in the 90s, where if you trying to be, you trying to have that look, you trying to floss, whatever, you had to have your undershirt, your cutoff undershirt, that people use a derogatory term for, that I try to cut out and not refer to it as anymore.
They're called A shirts.
Yeah, people would rock them ribbed cotton undershirts, sleeveless joints. And then you needed to tuck that into your boxers, and then your boxers, you needed to have the boxer like logo on the band showing, because it became a necessity if you wanted to be, if you want people to respect you, like, they needed to know that you were rocking that name brand boxers.
Yeah, man.
And then your pants needed to hang lower than that. Like, did you go through that phase where you spent time when you were going out making sure that there was a perfect, nice, symmetrical distribution of boxer line and brand name, then after the jean, and then the t-shirt, etc. Just so people
I'm guilty. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was working for Tommy Hilfiger at the time. and I was getting free draws. So I was trying to rock my Tommy
Oh,
Hilfiger draws all the time. Like it was the most expensive thing I owned. So I was like, I'm not trying to hide it under my clothes. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
exactly.
Yeah.
So then, but then the problem is what I'm trying to figure out is did I know like you said, so the boxer brief began for me as a utility thing, a function thing around because the first time you put some on, they were kind of like the compression shorts for sports is what introduced me to boxer briefs. Because I remember
Exactly.
being like, I remember I bought a pair of those at one point and was like, you know what? I'm gonna try these out because that's what the athletes rock. And then that's when you're like, oh wow, I'm getting a nice little hug of my thigh. I'm not getting the chafing I'm not getting the thigh on thigh crime anymore.
Exactly. Yes.
It's a whole new
Yes.
world. But them joints that were the
Whole new
athletic ones,
world.
they used to ride like way a little too low, and you couldn't wear them under like shorts
Mm-hmm.
unless you were rocking real long shorts, right? Because you didn't want your drawers to be hanging out
Hanging out.
under. You
Right.
just wanted that top band to show. You didn't want them hanging out on the leg, right? So I wonder now though, but then that I went through that point of life where then I was going through, balancing out boxer briefs or those sports utility briefs or whatever they were, and then boxers were for times when I wasn't doing sports. But then, like you said, I think the tight jean revolutions came along. The tighter jeans revolution came along, and something happened to the boxer where the boxer just never evolved. The boxer never evolved to work with the modern day style. And I don't know if it's ever going to come back, but people are still there's some people out there rocking boxers, and I don't know how you rock boxers and skinny jeans. I don't know how you do it. All that crinkliness, all of that extra cloth bunching up everywhere. It's a nightmare. And like you said, then you get that thigh line.
Right. Like if you got to tuck your boxer in while you're pulling your pants up, that's a problem.
Yeah. If I'm getting ready in the morning and I got to spend 5 minutes reaching my hand back in to smooth out what's going on each thigh, that's a problem. But another thing that I think is and this is where, so now we're in agreement on the boxer brief being the best utility, the best functional one. But now I want to talk about from both a fashion standpoint and a comfort standpoint. Is that what really sealed the deal for me? Is when this revolution of material with this moisture wicking dry, what's it called? Is it called dry fit?
Yeah.
Whatever, when Under Armour came around and started making shit way more comfortable than anybody else. And then suddenly everybody else started making the same shit like Under Armour, it seemed. Then now, to all of y'all out there who may already be on the same train as us with the boxer brief, I have to tell you, if you aren't rocking some of this dry fit, satiny feeling boxer briefs, you haven't leveled up yet. Because that's when you put them joints on. That is made for these modern day skinny jeans or tighter, not baggy jeans. There's nothing like putting them joints on, and then you just slip your tight ass jeans over your big ass black donkey.
Yo, dropping knowledge. This is for all of y'all out there. Knowledge for the people. Thank you, Piz.
So I don't know if you are that revolution yet, but go take it up, level up, people, kick it up a notch, dry fit your drawers.
Dry fit
boxer
your
briefs
drawers.
all the way is the number one recommendation for me and Jericho. And that is another episode of the Beat Or Podcast. We'll catch you next time.
All right.